This may take a minute to get everybody down here. Hello, hello, hello. For those of you guys watching online, we have a bunch of people standing on the patio, on the porch, ignoring me. Hello, folks on the porch. Porch folks. Come on down. We're lonely. Come on in, guys. Here we go. I'm going to give it a minute. There's still folks coming in. How's everybody? Yeah? Anybody get some writing done? Yeah. This is always the day in the week where I see people's eyes start to spin in two different directions, and writing's hard. Who got to the lake today? Raise your hand if you got out to the lake. Excellent. Who ate ice cream? Oh my goodness. Who saw an eagle? Excellent. Who saw an osprey? Who saw deer?
Somebody in my group saw the fox.
You saw a fox? Nice. All right. Foxes have been seen. Great. I'm vamping for another minute, but I'm not going to go much longer. Oh, you want me to get, okay. Okay. Well, there's a barrier. I can only get so close. All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is the Thursday. Holy cow, it's Thursday. I was talking to Mike earlier today, and I went, is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday? No, it's Wednesday. No, it's Thursday. No, it's Wednesday. So it's Thursday. Are we good? It is Thursday the 10th, night 4 of Summer Fishtrap, if you can believe that. We only have 2 more nights. So we've got a good... Wow, we got some chatty folks tonight. Don't mind me, come over there. Can you tell at one point in my life I used to teach grade school kids? Can you? It was K to 8. You can imagine K to 8 general music band and choir. Oh. Scariest thing in the world is a room full of kindergartners. I'm just going to say, you guys are not scary, so... All right, okay, let's try this again. Welcome to the Thursday night of Summer Fishtrap. Yay! Now everybody's here. Excellent. I'm so happy to see you here. We've got a good night planned, of course, because it's Summer Fishtrap. This is what we do. You've got a great night of readings from Mojgani, Mina, McConigley, and Stephanie Elizando Griest. You're going to have a great night tonight. As always, I want to thank our partners, the Kinsman Foundation, Eastern Oregon University, and oh my gosh, I think we've got the Book Loft crew all here today. So thank the Book Loft again. Please give them. I love being part of a community that applauds an independent bookstore louder than anything. I mean, can you imagine getting up here and going, thank Nordstrom's? It's just not the same. I'd also, no offense to Nordstrom's. If you want to send us some money, we'll take it, but there it is. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, Wild Carrot Herbals, Winding Waters Medical Clinic, and Pier 303. I'm going to give you guys a quiz today. Who knows what tomorrow is? Friday. Who else knows what else tomorrow is? Food Truck Day. So that's going to be very important for lots of reasons later, including that's how you're going to eat here tomorrow. The restaurant is closed, but the bar is open. That's important. But the other thing to know is tomorrow when you come for parking, the food trucks will be out. So just be aware of that. Don't trip on any cords. So that's important to know. So you ready to get started? Yeah. All right. I'm so excited about this. Every time this person reads, it's just, I wrote down a quote from Anis's website, and I think I've heard this gentleman say this. Our friend, Luis Arrea, said this about Anis Mojgani. He's a trickster and a philosopher, a theologian, and a rock star. I don't know how else to say it. He's absolutely right. He's also, as Mike says, one of his most favorite people. Mine too. Anis Mojgani has served, I think, 2 terms as Oregon Poet Laureate. He was the two-time individual champion of the National Poetry Slam and winner of the International World Cup Poetry Slam. He's been awarded residencies from the Vermont Studio Center, Caldera, a bunch of other places I can't pronounce, the Oregon Literary Arts Writers in the Schools program. He has been here in the wintertime, so he's a hero, and a recipient of an Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellowship. He's done commissions for the Getty Museum and the Peabody Essex Museum, and his work has appeared on HBO, National Public Radio, and is a part of the Academy American Poets Poem a Day series. His work has appeared pretty much everywhere. He's the author of 6 books of poetry and the opera libretto for Sanctuaries. His first children's book, do you hear that, Janae? His first children's book is forthcoming from the Holiday House, Neil Porter Books, and his latest poetry collection is The Tigers They Let Me. Originally from New Orleans, please welcome my friend, Anis Mojgani, to the stage.
Thank you, Shannon. Good evening. These days, I so very often don't know what to do with myself in spaces, that, to watch for almost 2 years so many people being obliterated, and so much quiet from so many places. And so, I think like over the last 2 years, so much of my writing is, my life is so good and my heart is so heavy. And so that's all just to say that I'm not quite sure exactly what poems will be read this evening, but, hello. But there may be things in them that you love, and there may be things in them that make you sad. So there's my content warning. If you have to remove yourself, feel free to. For almost 2 years, the amount of people who have said nothing about this man who has ordered the killings of a whole body of people, who quietly have kept their own screaming and sorrow tight-lipped on their perfect shelves, and went on with picking their rosemary and watching the California shorelines and betting on award ceremonies, have said nothing about any of it until the cavorted man was re-elected, and now so many of us want to yell so loudly. So concerned with the polish of our own doorknobs, we do not see the bedroom door we close is in the same house as the house being raided, the house on fire. Too many care about the ears of a stranger's dog more than a neighbor's dismemberment. I hope that which has been knotted so tightly always becomes unknotted, that whatever is being held so tightly falls. Is this not how grace must be taught? By what we do in the presence of falling things? Do not let them tell you that grace and peacefully are synonyms. Placing a shell into a chamber can be a pirouette. Standing a body between a body and a wave of cowardly horse riders is music. They will name our stillness as violence, and the splintering of the tooths in our jaws below their boots as keeping peace. My peace is unkempt. My peace grows wild hair and runs free through any meadow, filling its face with the tartest of berries until it finds the sweetest ones to devour. What my peace devours, it shares and gives freely. The stars are gone. Their starlight remains. In the beginning, there was only the moonlight and the rain, and the mud that was left once the rain had stopped, and the footprints left in the mud made by my boots from when outside in the rain I had stood beside the gate through the whole storm, watching out into the nothing that was on the other side of the fence. And once the rain had passed, and I had trudged indoors, dredging the mud across my floors, and it was only the moonlight and an inch of rainwater collecting in my footprints in the yard, and also upon the thin bodies of the night-blooming flowers from out in the distance, the animals begin talking with the world, and I lay in my bed by the open window, listening to that world being born out there, and I watched the swans drop from the dark air to fold the lights of the night sky into the down of their once soaring backs, and that's when you came home to find me upstairs asleep, having tried so hard to stay awake but failing, and you woke me with what I know not, the harshest softness, or the most careful of violence, and your face was the first thing that I saw in the familiar light of this new place. Thank you. Even though we're a couple weeks now into summer, I'll share this, which is called The Solace of Summer Approaches. And there's a bad word in it. Sun on legs, legs on grass, bike rides, smell of food over fire, jumping into the river, careening in air, current kissing feet, wet stones and collecting them, rope swings, light dancing on the water, traveling to the farther side of a state to hear trees, traveling to the farther side of the field to let the field do its work, recording your heartbeat to play through the earth, moving to follow the sun, finding the shade, the book on your chest as you sleep, sweat on parts you did not know existed, shaking hips with strangers, leaving home to hear music, faces hurt from smiling, too hot to fuck but doing it anyway, the mystery of each other being born and solved inside the same undressing, giving over to another's mouth, another's song, ice cream hands, popsicle wrists, stoop sitting, watching the sun turn into evening, falling in love, sticky bellies sticking, loud laughs and soft ones, learning another's quiet, your elbows crook becoming the color of night, my arms once more the color of my ancestors, returning to the sound of air, holding my friends in a backyard, hot sidewalks, burning your souls and worth it to not pull your shoes on, no plan but a walk to the corner store and then to see what happens from there. Things happening while letting them happen with me inside of them as they happen, lolling to roll from one porch to another with no plan but smelling the jasmine in the air, jumping off the bow into the stillest part of the water, finding an island, pantsless, shoeless, shirtless, heartful, unbuttoning anything, standing up crooked, whatever we might make, setting fires for the sound of it, the lines the sun writes upon us, drives to the coast, your chest kissing the waves, falling asleep to ocean. After the party, asleep on a couch, or heading out last, the bike ride home, the gang splitting into paths, like a library closed, alone with the stars and me one of them, turning onto my dark street. The flowers all know my voice. Jeff still inside the firmament above. Birthday candles, mine and those I have loved, meeting up to do nothing, melting backwards into time, coming out of the movies cold into the warmest air, the light in the leaves, saying goodbye by the car, but staying past the crickets, just that we might be the thing that they gather together in the dark to sing to. How's everyone's week going so far? It's always it's such a joy always to get to come here. Like I've been here. I think this is my 7th time getting to come share in Fishtrap, and it's always just such a gift. So thank you, Fishtrap, for inviting me, as always. It's a really special place and a special week. And what's nice is a couple of my friends are here this week with me, which is sweet. And this is a poem for one of them. For the other one, suck it. A grace. You stop, as you have often done over the years of our friendship with its twists and turns, to marvel a bird you spy or hear and fall into quiet. Face turned skyward to marvel again at a bird you've never seen before. Again, every bird, a bird you've never seen before. This time, one completely unknown to you, as we are in a different country with different light and different trees and different birds and their songs. You stop and we stand silent together and staring beside the road on a bright, clear, cold day in Uppsala, Sweden, stepping aside to let a cyclist pass. You never not look at the small wings in the leafless tree, me following your eyes and hands pointing, as you will again later on our walk through the cemetery, spying out to share the Eurasian blue tit we learned of, blue as an Oregon tide pool, yellow as wheat, the size of our palms, 2 of them hopping across a tombstone. I have written so many times of getting to see you in stillness with birds, been given this gift of quiet, and still have not found the language to turn it over, to share what it is that these moments give me. So many times we have been stopped mid-sentence, both I and you, by you being caught in the lilt of a whistle, the tilt of a caw, the sunlight of a feathered, glowing breast, wanting to witness in this world every time, the first time, something small that you love immediately and without question, and to share it with someone else. I have two and a half more, I guess, to share with y'all. 2.5. Maybe it's 2 and 2 halves, so maybe 3. If I can find it. Chalcedony. Do you remember when, after we had been eating chicken and rice, and I said to you that I always love you, but today, right now, I'm in love with you, and you smiled sheepishly and sweetly and at the same time, and I said to you that your face looked like an ocean agate, glowing. Do you remember this? Surely, my love, you must. It was just last week. And it was such a very sweet thing for me to have said to you. And such a sweet way for you to have made me feel. So sweet, I had to write it down. Here, for you, for me, for us both. Over the mountain I drove to see her for her birthday and through some snow. I do not miss departures. Do not miss a driving away from. I do miss arriving. Whether those I love have reached my doorstep or I have gotten to theirs. It is such a sweetness to travel to each other's homes and to be, upon arriving, let inside. We drove farther to sit in the hot springs. In Riley, we passed the tiniest post office, painted the palest green, sitting in the middle of a snowy nowhere, like the softest patch of grass. We went through snow-dressed desert, and under sunny skies, and towards mountains blue in the going and purple in the return, and up hazy fogged curves, and past winter-coated towers, and into Burns, and out of Burns, with thin ice on the streets melting under the day, and stared at the tundra, become mist, become flakes, become field, become flakes of snow again, and got out of the car and crunched over the white crunch and dressed down to walk the cold in bathing suits and down jackets and stepped into hot water to celebrate her 39th, and my book got wet, and that's okay because I got to read it anyway, while water of the planet held me like a tub, and with the steam coming off the surface and the moon watching while hiding somewhere inside of the day's wide and eastern daylight, I put her long arms over my shoulders, and she wrapped underwater her knees around my hips, and barely, while smiling at one another, like both of us were the same secret spoken in the sky's ear, like the moon at 2 p.m. held still, before we got out and dried off under the cold air and drove back west, with that secret moon being now so full and glowing that somewhere after Riley and before Bend we had to pull over to see the naked fullness of the moon better and finish what we had begun back at the springs beneath the eyes of the sun, letting the shine of the now moon do what it does when it sees being done what it wants to do with the body of another. For it too is a body being bathed in, and with the light of another arriving and aching to come inside. Thank y'all so much. It's always such a sweetness and a joy to read here in the Wallowas, which is why sometimes I like reading the same things here, like this one. As some of you may have heard before, many years ago a friend had posted a photograph of a lemon tree on their kitchen windowsill, and they took this picture and posted it and wrote this caption on their Facebook: "See the lemon tree I grew from a seed, how big you've gotten." And that poem was slightly referenced earlier in the week, if some of y'all caught it. So here it is again, because I was prompted upon seeing that picture to write this poem about a lemon tree that went something like this. Oh, lemon tree, I grew from a seed. How big you've gotten. You were so little when you were a seed, and now you are so big. And soon you will carry such lovely lemons, yellow and dimpled. When they grow too big for your thin branches and they leave this kitchen of mine, ask them not to forget it, this kitchen of ours. It is my favorite room in the house. And lemon tree, when you pick up to follow, please do think of me. I will think of you. Here, when my hands are far too empty and my tongue is far too sweet, I will think of the quiet poem that is your shape. Lemon tree. Please, bring a scarf with you. Wherever you end up, it may be cold. And if it isn't, perhaps you'll one day travel to a place where it is. And I wish for you warmth. I wish for you only warmth. When you're in your coffin, clinging down the river with all the other coffins in the water of the next world, all of them bumping and jostling against one another, the contents thrown about like riding inside of a small plane, you'll peek your head up to see what the racket is. You'll see the other coffins. Looking around, you'll see nothing but coffins and river and two banks distantly flanking the river, and the biggest, tallest, dark stretching above. So dark it feels like this place, big as it is, must be inside some sort of bigger place. There are still stars, though. Wherever this river is, you can still see the stars. While looking around, you'll see that there are other heads peeking out of their coffins. You yell across the dark, asking, "You know where we are?" And someone will answer back, "No!" "You?" "No," you say back. You ask somebody else, "What about you?" "No," they will say. I wonder where this is. And someone else will answer, I don't know, but it's big. And someone else will say, yeah, it's vast. And then someone else, depending on what part of the river you're on, might then say, vast like my backside. And though no one on this river knows the particular vastness or non-vastness of this voice's backside, people on the river will laugh. The chuckles will subside until a quiet sets in over the laughter, a quiet like you sat down in somebody else's church, and someone will then ask somebody else, where are you from? And they will say, Texas. What about you? Boston. Boston? Yeah, Boston. I know someone from Boston. Kate Lee. Do you know her? And the person will say, no. And they will be asked, well, what about Stephen Ellis? And the answer will come, well, you see, I'm actually in Somerville. Somerville? Yeah, Somerville. And someone else will then yell out, Somerville? I know someone in Somerville. Who? Nick Cathcart. You know him? I do know him. Yeah, oh man, small world. Yeah, Nicky's a great guy. He is. I hadn't seen him in 5-10 years. And when I did, he had a first edition of an E.E. Cummings book to give me. Great guy. And the first person may or may not know who E.E. Cummings is, but will still agree that yes, Nicky is a great guy. And then it will get quiet again until someone else asks, where is it that we are? And none can answer. A few shrug. All of us will look into the stars that are collecting in the distance overhead. And you may try to think of someone you might know who lives in Somerville or Texas or Florida or France, just to have something to talk about with a person you never met before just right now, just to share something in this dark quiet, even though all of us are already sharing this river and the sound of the current bumping all of us into one another. And you'll wonder where this water is taking us, and how long it will be before it brings us there, and what there will be like. If it'll be like here on the river, with all of us sitting in our boxes, trying to split the dark by sharing our voice with others, if it'll be like how it was in the world before this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Anise. I don't know if that's the 5th or 6th time I've heard him read that poem out loud, and I don't care. He could read it again and again. Wow. We've talked a lot this week about, raffle items and all sorts of things and fish trappers and all the rest of this. And I'm going to get serious just for a second. There's a reason we do that. We make light of the fundraising part of it. But a lot of you may have gotten this email about 6 weeks ago. We started a Words Matter appeal. I see some heads nodding, with a goal of trying to raise $20,000. And the goal was to try to raise $20,000 by the end of Summer Fishtrap. As of today, we're sitting about halfway towards that goal. So I'm not upset by that, by the way. I mean, it's a stretch goal. But I wanted to mention that because over the next couple days, we're going to keep talking about that, including Saturday night. Our Saturday night event is the only ticketed thing we do here, which all of you, by the way, if you are a registered participant or faculty member or a volunteer, please, you're here for free, but invite your friends and tell people in the county and the people in the community to come, not just because it's a fundraiser for Fish Trap, but because words really do matter, and you're going to hear words from 3 pretty spectacular folks that are local writers that mean a lot to us and mean a lot to a lot of you who've been here before. Those include Rich Wanschneider. Y'all have heard of this guy, right? Yeah. If you haven't, you're going to, so that's great. Also, Pam Royce, whom a lot of you know, yes. She wrote a wonderful book a few years ago called Temperance Creek, and she's a beautiful writer. And Adele Nash, who was a scholarship student here a couple of years ago. Some of you may have been in a class with her. She's also a lovely writer, and if you know Janie Tippett, she's Janie Tippett's granddaughter, so come in hear the feast for that. But I do want to emphasize again, anything you can do to encourage the folks that care about the words that you're writing, to encourage them to help support this program, it would be greatly appreciated. How'd I do? Okay. All right. Should we hear from our friend Nina? Talk about words matter, my goodness. I love her so much. Nina McConigley was born in Singapore and raised in Wyoming. How's that for a combination? Her short story collection, Cowboys and East Indians, was winner of the Penn Open Book Award and a High Plains Book Award. And it's a play, too, right? Yeah. Her work has appeared in the New York Times, Orion, High Country News, Plowshares, Alaska Quarterly Review, Oprah Magazine, Parents, and a whole other bunch of lists of stuff. In 2019 and 2020, she was a fellow at the Radcliffe Institute Advanced Study at Harvard University. I remember that. It was pretty. She hit it right in the pandemic. It wasn't fair. And she was a 2022 recipient of the National Endowment, the NEA, remember them? The Creative Writing Fellowship. So, sorry. Boy, I just, sorry. Words matter. Her novel, How to Commit a Post-Colonial Murder, is forthcoming. I cannot wait, with Pantheon Books. And she has an essay collection with the University of Georgia Press. She teaches at Colorado State University. I'm so excited to bring her up here. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you. I'm a little self-conscious because I just came back from India where I shaved my head, which I feel like shaving your head seems like a great idea at one moment, and then you go out in the world and you're like, was that a good idea? Thank you all so much for coming, and I love being Fishtrap and being the Wallowas. This is my 6th Fishtrap, and it's just a magical place for our family, and I love this week of teaching. I love my students. I feel like everyone writes beautifully and reminds me why I love words. So it's been great to be here this week. I do have a novel coming out. I just got the galley, but I'm excited about it, but I'm actually not going to read from the novel tonight. I'm a little bit needing to warm up, I think. But I want to read from Cowboys, partly because, first of all, I want to say there's only a couple of copies left up there in the book loft. This book is out of print now, this edition, I should say. The book was, when I sold this book, Viking is reissuing it with a very fancy new cover, which is great, but I really like this homegrown cover of this one. So I want to read from Cowboys, and also Shannon mentioned a play. I was commissioned by the Denver Center for Performing Arts with another much more amazing playwright. He wrote The Kite Runner on Broadway. The two of us both went to the same school in Wyoming. We grew up together. He's a little older than me, so we weren't friends when we were younger, but he adapts works of literature, and so we adapted 2 stories from Cowboys, and it's going to premiere at the Denver Center in January as a play, and I just love the story the play is based on, so I'm going to read from that because I feel like Cowboys is coming to an end, and I'm very precious with this book, so I just want to read a little bit from Cowboys, which I have not done in years, actually. So I'm going to read from a story called Pomp and Circumstances. The Shirley Basin seemed to be a big stretch of nothing that fell between Casper and Laramie. There was no cell phone coverage and not many houses except a few small ranches slipped between strips of cottonwood-lined creeks and the bases of rising hills. The basin at one time had been a forest, lush, tropical, a swamp. Now every summer and into fall, people combed the sagebrush and scrub for petrified wood, for a small piece of Eden preserved. The basin is so rich with uranium that ghost towns once filled with miners lap at the edges. Low prices and oversupply has all but cut short business. In the early 90s, black-footed ferrets were released here. Once thought extinct, these little bandits thrive, feeding off prairie dogs and roaming the plains at night. Raja and Chitra Sen are heading across the basin to a graduation in Laramie. Their 8-year-old son Hari lies sleeping in the back seat. The graduation is for Raja's co-worker's son, Luke Larson. Richard Larson is proud of his son and has invited everyone in the office to attend the graduation, but Raja is the only one going. One, because he has never been to an American graduation and thinks it will be good for Hari, and 2, because he finds Richard Larson hard to say no to. For months, Richard Larson has insisted upon calling him Senator. He has done this since the first day he saw Raja's name on a thin wooden nameplate on his desk, Raja Sen. Now all the other engineers in the office and even Bobby the secretary call Raja Senator. It is a nickname that sticks, that perseveres like a fossil. It is Chitra who states the obvious. Senator, didn't you tell him you're already a king? Raja says nothing. He's the only Indian in the office, Hari is the only Indian in his school, and Chitra is one of 3 Indians in their house. They are one of 6 Indian families in Casper. She perhaps has it the easiest. The drive is a little less than 2.5 hours, and they've been silent for most of it. Raja Sen thinks his wife is rude to the Larsons, as she had not wanted to come to the graduation. He thinks she's being difficult when making American friends. Raja knows Chitra has been to the Larsons' house 3 times. One of those times they went together. It was a holiday party, an event for which they were instructed to bring a white elephant gift. Chitra had selected a soapstone elephant from a shelf in their house. On its flanks there was an inlay of garnet-colored stones. But at the party she realized they were not to bring elephants at all. They had gone home with a plastic reindeer. When you lifted its tail, small chocolates dropped out of its behind. Hari had screamed with pleasure. Chitra has told Raja that she has been invited for the tea at the Larsons without him, with not just Richard Larson, but his wife Nancy, a thin, tanned woman who has a knack for matching outfits. Matching outfits. Nancy, but both times the Larsons had her over, I'm skipping some lines, had her over, Raja was out of town. Richard Larson had planned that. They actually drank coffee and not tea, and the second time, Nancy Larson had baked. She had made a stack of lemon bars so thickly sprinkled with powdered sugar that Chitra thought looked as if talcum powder covered her sari. Chitra has said little about the teas, except she does not want to go back to the house again. If there's an office function, she would rather stay home. Raja is sure that Chitra has done something to offend them. At the Christmas party, Chitra, who was not used to wine, told outlandish stories of India. She told Richard and Nancy Larson that Hijras had danced at her and Raja's wedding, that they were good luck. Raja Sen saw Richard's face as she explained them to him. Raja is sure at the last tea something must have been said, as Richard too has not mentioned Chitra. As they drive, Chitra thinks snow fences look like abandoned snakeskins in the grass. They curve and bend and then stop abruptly. These wooden skeletons hold more than the skin of winter snow. Along this stretch, some ranchers use the fences to create large drifts in the basin. It gives them a ready supply of water in the spring. It is still spring now, and the prairie is in a green-up. Magpies lunge along the road. The smell of sagebrush is sweet. Plotting red Hereford and black Angus populate patches of the plains. They are loose stock, as this is open range. Up in the hills and on the Elk Mountain, which rises before them, snow still sits on the peaks. A bit like Nancy Larson's lemon bars, except underneath the peaks are rock and preserved things. Nancy's lemon bars, due to high-altitude baking and dry air, only stay good for a day. When Chitra was first invited to the Larsons for tea, she was surprised to find Richard at home. The invitation had come from Nancy alone. They live in a modest ranch house on the east side of Casper, and without all the holiday decorations, the house is spare. The living room contains a cloud-like couch. The tables all have ornate legs like curving columns. There are prints on the walls of Indian warriors wearing headdresses, and there are heads of deer watching them. Richard is a good hunter, and every fall fills their freezer with antelope, deer, and sometimes elk. Nancy brings Chitra a steaming cup of coffee. On the table is cream in a pitcher shaped like a cow. The cream comes out of its mouth. "Do you like Casper? Have you settled?" Nancy asked. "Yes," said Chitra, and she meant it. Before they lived in Casper, they lived in Toronto for almost a year, and before that, they were in India. Toronto exhausted her. It was full of other Bengalis, and every weekend they went to Indian party after Indian party. Parties where satellite TV blurred cricket or Indian movies. Parties where all the wives would put on their best saris and jewelry, and Chitra would spend hours preparing parathas or other food. Parties where endless cups of tea were drank. The talk would always be of India or of the best schools to send their children. Here in Casper, they know few other Indians, and in many ways it's a relief. She can wear jeans and cotton tops, and when they're invited to any function, she simply goes to the bakery of the grocery store and buys donuts by the dozens, cookies with frosting the color of God's. Richard Larson does not join them at first. He comes in after their coffee has been drunk, when Chitra is admiring Nancy's quilts, which she has spread across an overstuffed pink chair in the living room. "So the senator's in Riverton. Hope he's not gambling away your fortune," Richard Larson asks. Chitra does not know of the casino there, but she laughs along. Richard Larson takes a hard look at Chitra's sari. She had worn it because it felt polite, because she was going visiting. It is a simple one, blue rayon with a series of dancing birds on the border. I like your costume, your dress, he said. I like the one you wore to the Christmas party. She's not sure if Richard Larson is flirting or stating a fact. She had worn one of her wedding saris to the Christmas party, and it was purple silk, ornate with heavy gold work. It had been stiffly packed for months, and so starched she felt she couldn't walk properly. Thank you. There was a quiet at the table. It was just past lunchtime. A clock in the kitchen ticked a little beat. These fabrics are very pretty, Chitra said. She pointed to the calicos and patterns of the quilts. Yes, Nancy has an eye for color. And then Richard Larson asks her for something she could never tell Raja. He asks if he can try on a sari. By the time they hit Medicine Bow, Hari is awake and asking to stop. They bypass the Virginian Hotel, which means nothing to them, and instead go to a small gas station. The inside smells of smoke. They buy sweet coffee and chocolate and then get on the road again. Raja takes in the wind turbines outside Medicine Bow. The town is almost bordered with them, and driving into that place, they look like cartwheeling crosses marking some sacred space. He thinks he's clever to think this and begins to tell Chitra his observation, but instead tells Hari, "Do you see those crosses?" Hari scans out of the window of their Honda and says blankly, "They're wind turbines." His class has been learning about green energy at school, and turbines are the newest point of contention in Wyoming. Some say coal bed methane brings out salty water, and the wind turbines ruin the view that so many flocking to Wyoming crave. They look like crosses, no? Chinthra squints out the window. She sees a pump jack. And that fellow, he looks like he's bowing to Allah. Prayers abound on the prairie for them. They continue their drive. The pump jack pulls up more oil. When Richard Larson asks if he can wear a sari, Nancy Larson leaves the room with a handful of quilt in her arms like a shield. You want to see a sari? Chitra's not sure what to make of his request. Richard Larson laughs nervously. I'd like to try one on, if that's okay. He's lost the bluster she has seen in the office. He looks at his cowboy boots, which are ostrich and stippled like a pimply face. You mean Nancy wants to try one on? Chitra is still confused and wondering if this is a kind of trick. She wonders if this has something to do with Raja at work. Richard Larson is embarrassed, but then he gains back some of the bravado she has heard when he calls their house looking for the senator. It's like those people you talked about in India at the Christmas party. Chitra thinks back to the holiday party, and she remembers the white elephant drinking glasses of wine the color of rosewater, but she doesn't catch his drift. And then she remembers her talk about hijras and how she found them happy while Raja found them a nuisance. Chitra, I'm going to show you something. He pronounces her name, Chitra. She follows him into the basement, past a pool table, and more deer watching them in a solemn line. He takes her into a room with wood-paneled walls. The floor is concrete. In the rooms are several large safes, or what Chitra thinks are safes. This is where I keep my guns, he says, pointing to a safe. Kids, I told the senator if he takes up hunting, he needs to get something like this. You don't want Harry there getting into guns. Nancy and Richard Larson have one other child besides Luke, a girl named Gretchen Larson. She is in the army and stationed in Germany. There's a narrow door with a lone padlock on it in the room, and Richard Larson takes a ring of keys from his pocket and opens the lock. It's a small room, meant at one time as a kind of pantry, and inside is a little vanity and an oval mirror. A bench is tucked neatly in the middle, and on the surface of the table is a wide array of makeup, compacts, eyeshadows that look like an artist's palette, brushes of all sizes, lipstick lined up like bullets. There is a full-length mirror next to the vanity, and it's also oval and swivels on its wooden base. A stained glass floor lamp stands in the corner, and next to it another plush chair. But unlike the cloud chairs from the living room, this one has a Victorian feel. It's an elegant chair, light mauve with a kind of paisley pattern. It's not a Nancy Larson chair. There are framed pictures on the wall, and again, they're different. There are flowers and English cottages with thatched roofs. But the one thing that delights her the most is the metal bookcase. Lined up are mannequin heads all in a row, and on each of the heads is a blonde wig in various hairstyles. A straight bob, a curly bob, long Rapunzel-like hair, and a cut with layers framing the face. The mannequins line up and look like the deer heads they passed on the way into the room, watching and taking it all in. Chitra does not say anything because she is genuinely unsure of what to say. This is a condition she felt a lot in Toronto, but since being in Wyoming, she has lost this to some degree. She appreciates not having anyone ask her why Hari is losing his Bengali, why she now cooked burgers, and didn't she know Japanese cars were the way to go. Richard Larson walks back into the room with the safes and turns the dial of one. Chitra half expects he's going to show her his guns as if they were similar to the display of makeup. But when Richard Larson opens the heavy door of the gun safe, it's like he's opened a closet. Inside is a rack of dresses, and they are beautiful. They are the kind of dresses she has seen on TV. They are the
Spreading her arms wide, Mira invites 50 miles from the border. My Spanish is best described as Tarzan light, a primitive vocabulary spoken entirely in the present tense. My mother faced so much ridicule for her accent growing up. She never taught my sister or me to speak it properly. I mostly picked up curse words in school and opted to learn Russian in college. Studies show only 17% of third-generation Mexicans speak Spanish fluently, but it riddles me with guilt, especially now that I've entered the publishing world. I'm turning down invitations to speak to groups I supposedly represent because I literally cannot communicate with them. A logical life plan would be to venture across this desert and explore the land and the tongue of my ancestry. But the very notion terrifies me. Ask any South Texan. To us, Mexico means kidnappings and shootouts in broad daylight in Nuevo Laredo, or the unsolved murder of young women in Ciudad Juarez. It means narco-traffickers in every cantina and explosive diarrhea from every comedor. When I was in high school, a college student got snatched off the street while partying down in Matamoros during spring break. Bound and gagged, he was driven to a ranch run by a satanic cult. Next thing you know, he was menudo. One worshiper wore a belt made out of his victims' spinal cords. So go to Mexico? Thanks, but I'd rather return to Moscow and hunt down my old mafiosi boyfriend. I'm cresting a small hill now. Glistening pools of water appear on the road up ahead, then evaporate. It is dizzyingly hot. I glance down at the gas gauge. It's nearly empty. My cell phone is roaming. Not a soul has passed me on this road. If this Mazda breaks down, I am toast. I better turn around and rejoin the main highway. My foot hovers above the brake as I grasp the clutch. Something appears in the distance. Objects in the middle of the road, moving sluggishly, then quickly. Bears? What kind of bear prowls around the Arizona desert? No, they must be wild dogs, standing on their hind legs and running? No, they are people. One figure seems to be a child. My lifelong phantom has actualized. I slam the brakes. There must be Mexicans fleeing the border. I blare the horn. Agua, tengo agua. I scream out the window. They must need water. I have 2 bottles. I must give one to them. But what if water isn't all they need? What if they ask me to take them somewhere? Of course I will say yes. How can I deny a ride to people in the middle of the desert? But what if they don't just want a lift? What if they want my car? What if they take it, toss me into the cactus and roar away? I mean, that's what I would do if the tables were turned. Throw out the gringa and go. The irony here is immediate. Nearly every accolade I have received in my life, from minority-based scholarships to book contracts, has been at least partly due to the genetic link that I share with these people charging through the snake-infested brush. What separates us is a twist of geographical fate that birthed me on one side of the border, them on the other. They are too Mexican. I am just enough. The Mazda has slowed to a crawl, but the border crossers have vanished. Water shimmers where they once stood. I pause a moment, wondering what to do, then slowly begin to accelerate. As I look off into the desert hills from which they descended, a surprising thought flashes through my mind. I want to go to Mexico. So I did. Now we're going to the middle scene, the bridge moment. This one occurred in my most recent book, Art Above Everything, which today turned 1 month old. Its underlying question is art enough to justify all these sacrifices I keep on making for it? To find out, I traveled to 12 countries and I interviewed close to 100 women who, like me, had relinquished almost everything for their creative endeavors. The night I discovered my own answer to this question took place 3 days before I received my first infusion of chemotherapy for ovarian cancer, for which I had 2 weeks prior to this had a complete hysterectomy to remove a tumor the size of an oblong basketball. Like all of my sisters, some of whom I've already met here in this space, who have also endured this experience, that meant, among many other things, I had to decide what to do with my hair, which I was on the verge of losing. Considering that I had not changed my hairstyle since 1992, this was a really daunting prospect for me. So I turned to art to get me through it. One vocabulary word you should know before I do this reading is the Spanish word for hair, and that is pelo. The cabin lights dim. The writer climbs into the director's chair. The breast cancer survivor, the psychiatrist, the photographer, the violinist who used to be the fiancé, the opera singer from Italy, and the mother from South Texas gather around her. The hairdresser enters with the makeup case. The comb, rubber bands, the scissors, and the razor rise up from the depths. The writer grabs the pelo that is hung halfway to her elbows since high school. The psychiatrist hands her the gin and tonic instead. The violin is unsheathed. The opera singer rattles the tambourine. The writer takes a long cold swallow before returning the glass. The 7 women wait for her nod before they begin. The opera singer emits the wail that transports them to another time. The violinist bows them to another sphere. The hairdresser combs the pelo into the ponytails that get snipped off one by one by one. The breast cancer survivor carries the ponytails over to the table. The hairdresser flicks on the razor. The writer cries out. The mother takes her hand. The Italian singer howls. The violin erupts in arpeggios. The tambourine pounds and trembles. The pelo falls all around them. The photographer documents the transformation. The writer weeps. The mother weeps. The violinist, who used to be the fiancé, weeps. The hairdresser flicks off the razor. The psychiatrist holds up the mirror. The writer reaches for the pelo that once hung halfway to her elbows before leaning in to see the woman she will become. The minute I was released from cancer treatment, I immediately knew what tribe of artists I needed to turn to. Belly dancers. A really vital organ of my womanhood had been removed, and that was the only way I could think to reconnect with it. So I flew to Cuba for the Havana Habibi Belly Dancing Festival. This excerpt takes place at a workshop on hip signatures, which every belly dancer needs to get down. And it takes place inside the palace of the Cuban National Ballet, a really extraordinary building. Spreading her arms wide, Mira invites us to contemplate our studio, from the decorative floor moldings to the angels and the beasts engraved in the friezes above. When you walk into this building, you feel uplifted because it is grand, because there is vibratory resonance. Such sacred geometry applies to architecture as well, to make you feel an experience of the divine, she says. When I say that our bodies are temples, this is what I mean. All that shame we are taught about our body, we must say no. They are sacred spaces. And when we dance, we celebrate that sacred space. With that, Mira silences. We watch one another as stillness fills the room. Architecture, art, poetry, music, dance, they are all saying the same thing, Mira says softly. The lines of geometry align us. Now I want you to draw those shapes, not big, but perfectly. 100 women and girls rise to their feet, positioning us before the mirror. Mira breaks down the hip signatures of 4 legendary Egyptian dancers, Samia Gamal, Nadia Gamal, Fifi Abdo, and Zahir Ziki, by showing us how to properly align our psoas. Then she urges us to create our own hip signatures. One dancer makes a full rotation of pulsing figure 8s. Another pivots halfway through a horizontal figure and finishes it vertically. A vivacious woman completes hers by whipping her long black mane over her head and back again. Soon everyone is tucking the bottom of their shirt into their sports bra and examining their canvas in the wall of mirrors. Every innovation wins shouts of approval. Being surrounded by so much physical beauty makes me forget the diminishment of my own until I step inside a vacated spot in the mirror. Here again is the shock of the fresh scar that runs from my navel to my pubis, the double helix from my chemoport branded beneath my clavicle, the sunken inset of my eyes, the stubble of my hair, the pallor of my skin, the emptiness of my womb. I am sterile now. I am neutered. I want a bolt. Then I see the abdomen beside mine. Cross-hatched with stretch marks, it bears the scars of a recent cesarean. I meet the woman's gaze in the mirror. A Cuban with thick, wavy hair. She senses exactly what I am thinking. Help. Sliding her hips to the right, she waits for me to follow. When I do, she drops her right hip down, then glides to the left. Just as I meet her there, she undulates. I stack on a shimmy. She joins me. Together, we shake, we shake, we shake. We shake, we shake, we shake, until our scars of nascent life and near death blur together. All right. Now we're going to go to an ending. And that is the ending of my 2017 book, All the Agents and Saints. It examines the question, what happens when an international borderline slices your ancestral land in two? Half of the book, the first half, explores the lives of Tejanos at the Texas-Mexico border. The other half explores the lives of Mohawk Indians at the nation of Akwesasne, whose land is bisected by New York and Canada. This excerpt takes place during the Strawberry Festival at the Longhouse, which is the traditional place of gathering. There, the chief gives a prayer that is called the Ahong do Galawadegwa, which means the words that come before all else. The full version of this prayer takes 3 days. The version I will do takes about 3 minutes. There is singing, there is dancing, there is chanting, and often all three at once. 2 men keep the rhythm with rattles made of turtle shells, while the rest of us dance in a long procession around the room. At first, I try to follow the footwork of the woman in front of me, but gradually realize people, they're moving to their own internal beat. I do as well, relishing in the freedom. At one point, someone grabs my hand. I look down to find a girl who can't be more than 4, staring up at me with unblinking eyes. She's wearing a little white dress embroidered with strawberries. Her silky black hair is parted into pigtails. She seems to want me to lead her, so I do, clasping her small hand in my own. Together we travel round and around the longhouse, along with 30, then 40, then 60 others. Someone makes a sound like yo! The rest of us respond in turn. An hour into the ceremony, my friend Kita exits the longhouse. I trail behind. Next door is an industrial-sized kitchen where women are preparing the day's feast, pulping piles of strawberries and sliding them into a bucket of water. Kita stations me with her Ishta, her mother, who is making corn mush at the stove. She shows me how to whisk the corn flour and water together until they take on a cream of wheat sheen, then how to add in strawberries and maple syrup. Has Kita told you about Sky Woman? Ishta asks. I recite the stories that I've heard about how Sky Woman fell from the sky one day, landed on the back of a turtle, and walked about, sprinkling sky dirt that became earth dirt beneath her feet. Ida nods approvingly, then adds another legend to my library. Sky Woman's husband often tried to test her resolve. Once he asked her to make corn mush without wearing any clothes. See how it's bubbling? Ishta asks. I glance down to discover that the mush pot has become a lava pit. A giant bubble bursts, singeing my hand with splatter. I yelp and I lower the flame. Ishta laughs. That's what Sky Woman's husband wanted to know, if she could endure pain. Well, what else do strawberries signify? I ask. Holding up a cup of juice, she says, you see the color? That represents the blood of the woman. Pointing at my mush, she adds, when you cut a strawberry in half, that also represents the woman. It grows the closest to the ground, so it's the closest to the earth, which is the mother. That makes it feminine too. The strawberry is medicine for the woman. Years ago, I had helped my friend Rochelle organize a menstruation celebration for teenage girls in Corpus Christi. We delighted over her idea to serve strawberry shortcake with red fruit punch. When I told others about this menu choice, they thought it was kinky. So it is gratifying to learn that Rochelle's instinct was right. Strawberries really do symbolize the feminine, and they've been celebrated by the Haudenosaunee since time immemorial. After lunch, we dance again. As a turtle rattles, pound a rhythm into my brain, I feel increasingly elated. Men emit their yee-oh. Footwork gets fancy. Sweat trickles down our face. Someone whoops, someone hollers. Not for a god, not for a prophet, for a berry. Something that leaves behind sustenance instead of commandments. Something that offers a single interpretation. Plant, water, harvest me, I will return. Poison me, I won't. One song ends, another began. More rattles, different rhythms. Round and around the longhouse we go, drinking the symbolic blood of woman, eating the gifts of Sky Woman. Another whoop, another holler, euphoria swirls through the procession. The chanting stops and starts again. New song, new rhythm, same motivation, the valiant strawberry. To say that you almost tasted strawberries is to say that you narrowly avoided death. The skyway above is lined with the fruit. You can pluck as many as you want from the patches. Hours pass, days, then all too soon the music ends. A final whoop, a last yee-oh! We all clamber back into the bleachers. The chief removes the wampum hanging from the stand. He holds it to his heart. We are treated to the ahon de galawadegwa, the words that come before all else. We thank the earth mother and the water, the fish, the plants. We thank the animals. We thank the trees. We thank the four winds and the thunder. We thank the sun and grandmother moon. We thank the stars. We thank the enlightened teachers. We thank the people. We thank the creator. These are the words that come before all else. Ahon de galawadegwa, which in Mohawk means gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Can you believe that you've now heard readings from all of the Summer Fishtrap faculty this year? Okay, we're rounding the corner. Tomorrow night is a pretty special night. We're going to hear readings from our Fishtrap fellows this year, Trinity Hare and Millicent Zumwalt. I have to say Zumwalt, I've been told. So hard. Those are our Fishtrap fellows. Please come for that. But you're also our keynote from Beth Piatote. So please come back tomorrow night. That's going to be a very, very special evening. When you leave tonight, come into the lodge, get one of these books signed from these fabulous authors that you heard tonight. Also, I did forget to mention, there is also no breakfast at the lodge tomorrow. Tiny Donut Man will be here. So the cart's already there. But if you need breakfast, make some plans to find some things elsewhere. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow night. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening and gratitude. Yeah.